Hi everyone, Frances here from For Noble. Welcome back. Today I'm super excited to talk to you about how I developed my spiritual practice. So this video is a little bit just more about me and my journey, but people ask me this question a lot, just kind of how I got started and all that, and I'm super excited to share with you. So let's jump right in. Okie dokie. So I guess we should rewind let's start when I was born. So when I was a child, I was always very intuitive, but I just thought that it was normal. And I didn't have any weird things that happened to me. For example, weird things might be my brother. He used to be, before he could even speak, he would be like, oh, mom, gran. That's what we used to call my grandma gran. Gran's on the phone, or whatever a small child would say. And my mom would be like, no, there's no one on the phone didn't ring. And then 30 seconds later, the phone would ring and it would be my grandma. So my brother was very, if we want to use the word psychic, very in tune. I wasn't really like that. I didn't exhibit signs of intuitive behavior, but I always just knew right from wrong, yes, no, very easily. And again, yeah, I thought everybody was that way. And then as I got older, that kind of started to shift. And I feel honestly, society kind of hammers that out of you when you're a kid. They stop you from daydreaming, which is what I believe when you go to your spiritual place or your safe space. They stop you from following your gut, because there are rules. And sometimes the rules that we have to follow are not really what we feel we should be doing. And I also went to a very religious school from preschool until 8th grade. So anything outside of the traditional religious norms were just not accepted. And so I'll call them gifts now. I'll boldly call them that, but all my gifts were kind of diminished, which is sad, because I think that happens to literally every single person on the planet, because I believe that everyone is a channel, because we are animals, and animals are innately intuitive and are in touch with earth energies as well as source. So fast forward now to, I went all through school, I went to university, I went and got my first big girl job, and literally a week in, I was like, what have I done? This sucks. But I'm 26, so I'm a millennial. At this time, I graduated college a semester early, and then I went and started working about March, April after I finished school. So yeah, I jumped into work, and everyone told me you can't quit. You're just, being lazy, you just don't want to work, you're used to college. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll give it a try. 2 years later, I was still in the same job, and it started getting so hard to show up every day. And I just knew something wasn't aligning. I had known something wasn't aligning since the beginning, but again, that diminished gift, it didn't give me the freedom or the empowerment I needed to be like, this is not aligning, I'm going to leave this job. Instead, I listened to everyone and I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be that girl that just quits and didn't even give it a try, because I'm also a very hard worker. I am business minded. I love business, but it just was not aligning. So about 6 months into that job, though, I did go get my health coach certification, because I was like, I need something to keep me sane. I love health. Great. I'm going to go do that. After I completed that, so that program was a year, and then after that, I went and got my yoga teaching credential, and that was when I was just that was the first time that I was introduced to any kind of spiritual metaphysics that was not traditional religion, that was accepted. So we talked all about yoga philosophy, all about different religions and how that ties into yoga. And then all of this stuff was brought up with movement about, connecting to my body. I'd always been a dancer, but there was something about yoga combining mind, body, spirit that really just awakened me. And since then, I've just been like on it. So that means I've been taking classes. I research everything I can online. But the first class that I took was actually a crystals class, which is so weird because now I teach crystals classes. But the first class that I took was a crystals class. And I walked in and I was like, this is going to change my life. And I like looked at the teacher and I was like, in my head, like, you're going to change my life. And that teacher ended up being my mentor through my whole journey. And after that class, I went up to her and I was like, hi, what's up? And literally she was like, oh yeah, come get your tarot reading. I was like, great, got my tarot cards read. And then she was like, oh, I'm doing a Reiki 1 training. And so I was like, awesome, I have no idea what Reiki is, I'm gonna come. But it's weird because looking back on my life, I had actually experienced this work and it didn't click because I wasn't open to it. So actually at a work event, there was a palm reader that I didn't hire. Someone else on my team had hired her to come, and she read my palm and she was like, oh yeah, like tarot would be really great for you. And I was like, okay, like I don't believe in tarot. And then fast forward, now I read tarot cards. Same thing when I was 20, my mom got me a Reiki healing. When I was in my late teen years, I went through a very intense breakup after a very intense relationship. And my mom was like, you've been carrying this with you for 2 years. You need something. So I went to this woman I'd never met, got a Reiki healing, and I didn't know what I was walking into. I walked out, I was like, yeah, that was cool. And now I look back on everything she told me. She was like, what do you do for work? I was like, I'm in marketing. She said, no, you have healing energy. You're going to be a healer. I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay, this girl's crazy. And now fast forward 5 years and that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, looking back, it's really cool to see all of these things that did align. And it's kind of, that's where I share with my clients or people, you watching, like, listen to what you're called to, because had I not had my gifts diminished, meaning intuition, which you have, channeling abilities, which you have, talking with your spiritual team, angels, guides, which you have. These are gifts every single person has, but we are taught to push them down, push them down, push them down. And in all of these places where I went to see people that I didn't know what I was getting myself into, they told me these things, but society gets in your head and it's like, no, that girl's crazy. No, that can't be true. No, there's no way. And now I look back, especially now being in this work, and I'm like, that was accurate. Yes, I am a healer. Oh, I read tarot cards. You're right. Tarot is big in my life, right? So it's all these little things. But that is kind of like my background, how I got to where I am now. Essentially, I just kept coming back for more. It just like fed my soul. And that goes with anything that you're passionate about. For me, I teach a lot on how to live in blissful alignment, meaning how to live your dream life. And when a lot of people are like, I don't know what my dream life is. Well, dream life is when you just can't get enough and you just want to keep learning, and it's easy. It flows to you. It comes, and like you enjoy every second of it. So that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. But now moving into my spiritual practice. So I also thank you for watching up to this point. I'll, put a little timestamp. So hopefully if you didn't care about my past, then you can start watching now. But yeah, I think it was important to give you my past so that you kind of have a little bit of background on me. And then now I can explain what I do currently based on all of that. So my spiritual practice is a mix of everything. I pull in crystals, I pull in cards, I pull in Reiki, I pull in meditation, I pull in prayer, I pull in dance, yoga, and this is the most woo-woo one, like I talk to my people. I talk to my spiritual team, literally out loud. And that is something that society would say she's crazy. But I don't feel like it's crazy because it helps me. It's the same with what I say when people ask me, are crystals real? They work for me. So yeah, they're real. But my spiritual practice consists usually of, in the morning, I wake up, make some mushroom coffee, get my adaptogens in, and then I will just take a moment to myself. Sometimes this is movement, sometimes this is pulling tarot, sometimes it's sitting quietly and just reflecting, sometimes it's journaling, all different kinds of things. But yeah, that is kind of how I start my days, always with a moment to myself. And then as the day moves, I'll just keep my eyes open for messages. So a lot of people are like, oh, how do you know if your spiritual team's talking to you? Or how do you know if that's your gut? Like, you will start to develop it the more open to it you are. So what does this mean? For me, like back in the day, I used to just be like, oh, cool, birds. Yeah, those are pretty. And now every time I see a bird, I know that it's for me, and I know what the message from that bird guide is when I see it. And people are like, how? And it's such a hard thing to explain, but you will know how. I always tell people, if you're brand new to a spiritual practice, definitely start by journaling or speaking aloud and recording yourself. Set a timer and don't let yourself stop. So I always say start with 5 minutes. Either write for 5 minutes with no intention and then go back and read it. You'll definitely get some insights. If writing is really hard, then go and just like speak to yourself on like a voice memo or something on your phone and listen back, and don't let yourself stop until that timer goes off. It's really powerful what comes through if you just simply open yourself up to be a channel. So that is usually how I start my days, with the intention. I always set my intention. I'm working only with the light. This is to help boost my path so that as I move forward on my journey, I can best serve the highest good. What do I need to know today? And then whatever comes through, I just let it come. How it usually comes for me is like flashes, like in my mind's eye of like images, or it will come as it feels like thoughts, but I know it's not my thought. And that, I think, if you want to label it, being claircognizant, that is the hardest part of being claircognizant, because when you're starting out, it's like, is this my thought? Is this a random thing from something that I saw on TV? Or am I actually like downloading information that's not mine? So for me, so I'll have a thought, let's say something random comes to my head, I'm like, that's weird. I'll do a body scan. So where else is my body feeling something right now? And usually I'll feel it right here, like right in my stomach. It's like, zoom. So I'm like, okay, cool. Every time I have a thought and my stomach does that, I know that that's a channel and it's not my thought. That's kind of like my confirmation, like my check mark. But now I'm able to be like, oh, that's not mine. Cool. Like I got it. I don't have to take the time to check in. It's just, I know. So that is what I guide people to do though when they're starting out, is like start checking in with other parts of your body, and see what shifts when you're getting your downloads, so that you have your confirmation of what your download is. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Like, my spiritual practice changes daily, and that's okay. A lot of people are like, oh God, I didn't do my daily ritual. I'm like, that's cool. Like, do what you're being called to. Sometimes my spiritual practice is having my coffee and watching something on TV. That is more rare, but it is okay, because sometimes I'll like check in if I'm like really being called to the TV in the morning. I'll ask my guides like, why? Like, what's up? And sometimes it'll be like, there's a message for you in that show. And then sometimes it'll be like, you need to stop thinking. Like, you need to clear your head. And if you just honor that, I promise it will start to make sense as you move forward in like your days and your life. Because like, for example, let's say I get the message, you need to watch TV. Like, cool, great, I'm gonna watch TV today. I'm not sure why, but awesome. Let's say I didn't get a message in the show. Now it's like, okay, well, I needed to clear my head. And then I accidentally slipped going down the stairs. Had I not cleared my head, I could have broken my foot going down the stairs. But because my head was clear, I was able to catch myself. So those are like the little guideposts where you know your team is holding you and protecting you and helping you on your path. And that was a really little example, but those examples can be massive in terms of like life shifts. So I know that was a lot. This is way longer video than I expected it to be, but I think that it's important for you to understand kind of what I do. And I think the big golden nugget takeaway is that there is no right or wrong. Whatever you believe to be true is true. There are so many realities that exist and so many realms that are going on at once that whatever you think is happening is actually happening somewhere. So you can shift your spiritual practice to be anything. It can shift from day to day. It can shift over time. Maybe you used to journal. Maybe that doesn't serve you anymore. That means you've graduated from that step. So let it shift and let it move. The number one thing that I would guide you to do is learn your intuitive yes. So I will let you know what that video is. I don't know if I can link it up here or put it in the end screen so that you can go to that next. But learn your intuitive yes, and that is going to shift your day-to-day like crazy and help you really live in blissful alignment. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, blessings to you, and please let me know if you have any questions about how to develop your spiritual practice. Again, no right or wrong way, just go with it and stay in alignment. All right, bye beautiful.